If you want to achieve greatness,
Hmm.
you have to be a bit crazy. You
Yeah.
have to
of the
Mhm.
revenue you make, right? Much like in a startup.
Yes, man, and let's get some of our old soldiers back out.
Musicians to be professional. They know how to talk.
To help them wake up happy. It's
I
not
love
about a
that.
rectangle and a price.
All right, y'all. It's another episode of Bankedoutt Radio Show. I'm your host, Andreas, and I have with us via Zoom John Hewitt, who is a renowned American entrepreneur who has made a significant impact in the business world through his innovative ideas and strategic thinking. He is best known for his success in tax preparation industry, having founded two of the largest tax preparation companies in the United States, John Hewitt and Liberty Tax. Both companies represent two of the top 100 largest retail organizations in North America. A few more facts, and first of all, you have a fantastic career, by the way. I'm loving it. Uh, in 2012, Liberty Tax Service operated over 4,000 locations in the U.S. and Canada. International Franchise Association Entrepreneur of the Year 2005. Accounting Today Top 100 Most Influential People 2000 to 2012. A best-selling author, I Compete: How My Extraordinary Strategy for Winning Can Be Yours in 2016. Inc. magazine, 1992, John Hewitt ranked second in the tax industry. It was one of the fastest growing private companies in the U.S. Thanks, John, for coming on. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I was going through and I was just trying to absorb all the information. I'm like, your career is older than me. I'm
Long
42.
older than you. This is my 55th year.
Yes. So you got some years on me. But I do love it. I'm a business graduate. Um, and I just love business and everything you've been able to accomplish. I'm sure you were like innovative and you set the pace for how other people could accomplish things. One thing I really wanted to get into, especially like, reading your profile and, the question is ready to answer. But I saw something that struck out about me about the ideas for shows, which was guerrilla marketing. And I want you to tie that in because I studied guerrilla marketing outside of college. I ran into it because I have a degree in marketing, but it was never like taught in school. I found some books when I was at the bookstore and just started getting more into it. So tell us, how did guerrilla marketing help shape the vision and execution of growing both of those tax businesses?
Well, I learned a long time ago that Andreas, you said you're a student of business. I've been a student of business before, long before you were born.
Yes.
And I read a book called Guerrilla Marketing.
Hmm.
I loved it. And what what I train my people, for example, we have 8 different industries, but in the tax preparation industry, what I tell my franchisees is in this country,
Hmm.
there are over 32 million small businesses.
Hmm.
So there's over 32 million companies or individuals that are trying to get your attention.
Hmm.
And in each of my franchise territories, so if you divide that by the number of territories in the country, each of my territories has about 3,000 businesses that are trying to get their attention of all different kinds of industry.
Hmm.
In addition to that, they have 10 or 20 competitors.
Hmm.
So everyone's trying to get their attention. So what you have to think of when you try to market your name, get brand name, get a customer, you have to think, do I want to do the same as everyone else is doing? Do I want to be on Google? Do I want to be on Facebook, TV, radio, newspaper, direct mail? Do I want to do the same old, same old? Or do I want to stand out? Well, I learned a long time ago that I want to stand out. I want differentiators, and I want to do things that no one else is doing. And so that's what we do. And you have to have differentiators. If David had gone onto the field with the same sword and the same shield and armor as Goliath, there wouldn't be any David and Goliath story.
Yeah.
He'd be the 189th guy killed by Goliath. So you have to have differentiators. And, my franchisees over the years, we've been competing against H&R Block in the tax industry. They spend $100 million every year in just national TV and radio. Whoever spends the most is going to win. And if you be happy that that's not the right way, that's not the cheapest way to get customers. Guerrilla marketing is the cheapest ways to get customers. And I can give you hundreds of examples of ways that we get customers that no one else is doing. Not only not in our industry, but in any industry.
Okay, so can you just name like two things then, since you have hundreds of examples?
Sure. One thing is very obvious. In both of my last two companies, ATAX and Liberty Tax, we have costume characters that go out in front of the office and dance. So it's easy with the Lady Liberty. At ATAX, we have an eagle costume. And what we find is about every 2 hours, a customer will come in and have his tax return done just by seeing this waiver. So, Andreas, how many businesses, how many costume characters do you see on the way to work each day? Almost none, right? No one sees almost any.
hardly,
So there are 3,000 businesses around every one of my offices, but there's almost no one that has a costume character. And how many of those businesses would an average consumer be able to name? They wouldn't be able to name 100, not even 50. But if you saw a costume character every day waving at you and dancing in the street, that'd be one of the things that you remember. We also go B2B, and there was a great story. We have one of my best marketers ever. She goes out and trains franchisees. And she went into an auto dealer and said, just last Friday, she said, with the franchisee in tow, in costume, in her eagle costume, and said, and they were saying, well, what do you want? Right? She said, guess what people buy most with their tax refunds? And they were like, they didn't know. So she pointed out the window, cars. By the time she left, they were doing a live remote and a radio show, and they invited her to be on the live remote and the radio show, so to talk about getting tax refunds so they could buy their automobiles. So the things like that no one else is doing. Right? No one else. How many people have come into your radio show dressed in costume with, here's some candy, here's some donuts, here's some pizza. We want to just let you know that we're located 2 blocks from here.
You're far and few in between.
Right.
It's like, every blue moon I'll just get stuff. I actually did an interview the other day where a lady brought me representation, and what she did, she put gift baskets and stuff together. And I thought, what I'm saying, it's stuff like that sticks out. It helps with the branding. You get to, put a name with something, and it becomes synonymous. So as you're building in the position that you have with the organizations, like what type of mindset does one need to have to be able to take on something like that?
Well, first of all, you got to be kind of crazy. Right? I tell people I walk the tightrope of crazy. Because when I left H&R Block and decided to start Jackson Hewitt, well, H&R Block had 9,000 locations, and we had 6, not 6,000, 6.
Yeah, 6.
So we said we went from 6 to 11 to 15 to 22. Today, Jackson Hewitt had 6,000 offices. But we set a goal that H&R Block had 9,000. We wanted to have 9,001. Now, that to any rational person, is that reality? That's ridiculous. That's crazy. You
Mhm.
have to, if you want to achieve greatness,
Mhm.
you have to be a bit crazy. You
Yeah.
have to be unrealistic. I interviewed one of my employees one time was a pessimist,
Mhm.
and we had an annual retreat of the executive committee or of the
Mhm.
executive team. And I said the next year, I told his boss I didn't want him to attend. He said, well, he's going to behave this year. And I said, well, let me talk to him with you there. And I called him in and I said, do you think you're an optimist and a pessimist? Or a pessimist? He said, I like to think of myself as a realist.
Mhm.
Well, I said, in 2000, when we started this company, this was at Liberty Tax. I
Mhm.
told you about Jackson Hewitt. Now, when we started Liberty Tax,
Mhm.
now I had to compete against my own name and my own software and my own system.
Yeah.
And I had to compete against 9,000 HR blocks.
Mhm.
So I said, Ron, is this realistic that when we started this company that you work for, that has 3,000 offices, right?
Mhm.
When we started, we had 0 offices.
Mhm.
And not only did we have to compete with 9,000 H&R Block, we had to compete with 6,000 Jackson Hewitts.
Mhm.
It would have been realistic 12 years ago to say, you know what, in 12 years, we're going to have 3,000 offices. We're gonna grow fast, not only faster than Jackson Hewitt, faster than H&R Block and Jackson Hewitt combined. So was that realism? I said, you gotta, in this company, if you want to achieve great things, you have to have set big, hairy, audacious goals.
Mhm. I definitely
Unrealistic. You have to be a bit unrealistic.
yeah, definitely all the people I've been interviewing thus far, and I've been podcasting since 2016. And like you said, the people who have those visions and those big, hairy, audacious goals, they all have that in common. You have to go and think big. And I think I ran across somebody who said, if your goals aren't big enough, or if they don't scare you, they're not big enough. So you want something that seems like very unrealistic to chase after.
And
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 mhm.
and Andres, it has a side benefit. We did not, our goal was to have 9,001 offices.
Mhm.
We only got to 6,000,
Mhm.
but we became $1 billion company.
Mhm.
I'm one of only 1,000 people in this country that have ever founded $1 billion company. Even
Mhm.
though we didn't quite get all the way there,
Mhm.
got to $1 billion company.
Yeah, which is fantastic. I'm like, there's people who can't even get to $1 million, let alone 100,000. So I'm like, it's just, especially starting from like, scratch with nothing really to help push you forward. So do you believe that, anyone or everyone can be an entrepreneur? What's your philosophy behind that?
No, I don't at all. What I've learned, and I brought in my career, I brought in 5,200 franchisees,
Mm-hmm.
and 1,000 became millionaires, and 1,000 went out of business.
Mm-hmm.
And what I learned is that over about 70% of America
Mm-hmm.
wants to be an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
but only about 20 or 25% can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it requires, and the biggest reasons that they fail are they're not risk takers.
Mm-hmm.
So, and everyone faces adversity. I've never seen anyone achieve anything without going suffer. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's always obstacles to overcome. And so when the going gets tough, some people don't get going.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're not risk takers or they're not self-starters.
Mm-hmm.
Some people need a boss to say, you need to be there by 8:30 every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And or they don't have the discipline to do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a couple of the shortfalls I see that there are a lot more people that want to be entrepreneurs than have the capability to be entrepreneurs.
Do you feel that with today's media. So like let's say Shark Tank and The Profit, shows like that. I like the fact that people are being inspired, but do you think that the way those type of platforms and how people look at entrepreneurship nowadays, especially with social media, is being presented in a manner to where they're not necessarily showing everything that you need to do or how difficult it is to be an entrepreneur?
No, I don't think, I just think they gloss over all that. And I mean, I don't put a lot of thought into it, so I haven't put deep thought into the answer to your question.
Hmm.
But my initial impression is no, there's a lot. It there's a lot of slogging, preparation. It's
Hmm.
not and when you're in a competition, whether it's a sport
Hmm.
or a card game or business,
Hmm.
preparation is more important than perform. I mean, you can't have great performance without great preparation. And I
Hmm.
think that site might miss the thousands and thousands of hours of work that went
Hmm.
into those people getting to that place.
Hmm. So what do you feel over your career has been your top strengths?
I think that the key to my success is the ultimate key. And of course, there's many, many characteristics of success and
Hmm.
elements of success that you need to have. But the number one thing I think that has propelled me is I always want what's more for every person that I deal with. Then I want what's best for them.
Hmm.
And too many people, when they deal with a franchisee or an employee or a customer, they want what's the best for themselves.
Hmm.
And I always want what's best for every person. So that has driven me, and that's why we call our company Loyalty Brands.
Hmm.
I have three people who have been with me 35 years and five that have been with me for 30 years and five for 25 years. So I've always had great loyalty because the only way to get loyalty is to give loyalty. So
Hmm.
it's doing what's best for others.
So tell us more about the Loyalty Brands then, because you built the two tax companies, but then Loyalty Brands seems more of a conglomerate where it has multiple wings to it and
Exactly.
the
That we have
franchising model.
with Jackson Hewitt, I had one franchisor.
Hmm.
With with Liberty Tax, I had one franchisor. Now we have 8 different franchisors. So yeah, we're helping a lot people in 7 different industries.
So with that, okay, so the people they say that, the people that you hire and you keep around you should be, what I'm saying, as good as you are or better. The people that have been and stuck around you, are they visionaries like yourself, or you're still the one setting the motion for everything?
I've heard a lot of people say that they want people that are better than themselves around them. I'm not a big fan of that.
Hmm.
Um, but what I am a huge fan of is that everyone I know has weaknesses.
Hmm.
And um, so what I want to always have is someone who's good at my weaknesses.
Hmm.
So I'm not good at detail. So I need a really detailed person,
Hmm.
right? I and so I you hire people to strengthen your weaknesses
Hmm.
because um, pe people with Peter Drucker, great business author, wrote, "People with great strengths have great weaknesses." I
Hmm.
have great strengths, therefore I have great weaknesses. And
Hmm.
so the people that I hire that are better than me are better at things that I'm ideally things that I'm not good at.
Hmm. As a person in your position and what you've accomplished, how often did you have the chance to read material like books? Because I've read and seen in interviews where a lot of high profile people will say that, you need to read and consume information a lot to be able to go out there and perform.
Yeah, up until I turned 70, I read about 25 business books a year.
Mm. Were they, various, topics as far as like, one would be about like, I guess accounting and, development, things of that nature, or did they stay within the same realm?
Most of the books were on managing people, building businesses,
Hmm.
um, Yeah, the most of the books, but just a wide variety of books. But I'm almost always on building businesses. For example, if I found a biography like Made in America by Sam Walton,
Mm-hmm.
or the Avis story by Walter Avis,
Mm-hmm.
or Nuts by Herb Kelleher of Southwest Airlines. Whenever
Mm-hmm.
I could find a book on the growth of a company
Mm-hmm.
and the trials and tribulations
Mm-hmm.
and lessons learned, I would grab those books.
So what has been a common denominator in businesses and growing them? Is there something that, you had to do with all your endeavors?
Yeah, one thing, um, one of my favorite authors too, Stan Phelps,
Mm-hmm.
he in one of his books, he said, almost no one ever arrives at a meeting exactly on time. If the
Mm-hmm.
meeting is 4 p.m., you're either a little early or a little late. Almost no one walks in exactly when the clock strikes 4.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, in the same manner, customer service, people don't meet customers' expectations.
Mm-hmm.
They almost always fail to meet them or exceed their expectations. They rarely meet them exactly. And so the thing in common is striving to exceed customer expectations, go to a higher and higher percentage of exceeding customers' expectations.
How important is balancing yourself? Because, we can go out here and we can do business and we can accomplish great things, but then, there's also the giving back to the community and philanthropy. How important is that to you?
Well, in all of my companies, I've taught that you're required to give back.
Mm-hmm.
And people say, "Well, I'm 74 years old. Why are you still working?" Well, because well, for a couple of reasons. Number one is I don't know what I would do if I didn't work. I
Yeah.
love it so much, but and I'm at the peak of my experience and knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and I to go sit on the beach somewhere is such a waste of time.
Mm.
So I'm proud that in when we sold Jackson Hewitt for $483 million
Mm-hmm.
in December of 97. In January 98, I started Liberty Tax, but I also started a World Hunger Organization.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just myself and one Methodist minister
Mm-hmm.
called to help in world hunger. And for the first two and a half years, I put in all the money and he did all the work. Now I'm proud to say that there are over 100 employees, and we've
Mm-hmm.
distributed over 500 million meals in 56 countries.
Wow.
So yeah, we teach every franchisee,
Mm-hmm.
as you succeed, you are required to give back. And I also learned, Andreas, a valuable lesson long ago. And I was probably about your age.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was beginning to get wealthy, I started giving more. And I learned I can't outgive God. The more you give, the more you get. So,
I
so
love it.
it's almost selfish to give, because the more
Yeah.
you give, the more you get.
Yeah.
I never get back more from that one person, but
Mm-hmm.
something good happens to me.
Mm-hmm.
Some business or personal event happens that's better than I gave.
Yeah. I definitely I love that. I know you're a best-selling author as well, correct?
Yes. Yep.
How
My
was
book
that?
is
Mm-hmm.
available. And if anyone wants it, it's called I Compete. And I'll mail you one if you just send me your address at john@loyaltybrands.com. I'll mail out a free book to anyone.
Okay, I'll definitely do that. How was that process for you sitting down there writing the book? Because, you have all this knowledge and all this experience. So I don't imagine you could just put everything in one book.
No, we published a book about 8 years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
it was from when I was born and my
Mm-hmm.
first entrepreneurial venture when I was 4 until all the way up until about 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I actually, I had a ghostwriter,
Hmm.
and she would sit down and tape me. And I have some unique thoughts, I think. Right?
Hmm.
I think of them as unique.
Hmm.
And so we would write a chapter about my history, but then talk about the lesson I learned
Hmm.
in and that would be a chapter.
Hmm.
So my unique ideas are chapters of the book with real life examples of how it played out.
I like that. Um, so your goals now for like loyalty brand, you had big goals for the tax businesses. What are the big goals for loyalty brands?
In each of our brands to be
Mhm.
number one in the industry.
Mm.
So one of our brands is a roofing company. So we
Mhm.
want to be the number one roofing company in America.
Mm. Does that scare everyone who comes and works for you when you have these big goals and the other people who are there to do their job so you can get to those goals? Are they in line with it?
If if they got scared,
Mm-hmm.
then they're not the right people to be on the team. So they weed themselves out. And
Mm-hmm.
there are people that my goals are too audacious.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would they stay off the team.
Mm. So it's like a natural just weeding out process. Mm.
Exactly. Exactly.
How has business in general changed over the years?
I would say that I've been disappointed in my lifetime with the quality of service in this country. The
Mm.
quality of service continues to, on a yearly basis, to go downhill.
Mm-hmm.
People do not offer the great quality of years past. It's harder and harder to find.
What do you think attributes to that?
I think our society has become um, ungrateful.
Mm.
I mean, I try to teach gratefulness
Mm-hmm.
and that's what drives me. And I've never had a bad day as long as I can remember,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm just grateful for the blessings that I've had my whole
Mm-hmm.
life. But I can't even teach my own. I have 6 children, and I say to be alive and healthy and live in the United States, you're the top 1% luckiest person on the planet. And they
Mm-hmm.
don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're ungrateful as a society. We don't
Mm.
appreciate our blessings.
Do you think there's a way that we can course correct that?
Andreas, I've tried to change people's attitude. I mistakenly tried to change hundreds and hundreds of people's attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned the lesson that Tom Watson Sr., one of the founders of IBM,
Mm-hmm.
he said 100 years ago, he said, give me 100 great engineers
Mm-hmm.
or 100 great people with great attitudes that know nothing about engineering. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
take the people with great attitudes, because you can teach engineering. You can't teach attitude.
Mm.
So I've given up on trying to change people's attitude. So
Mm-hmm.
when we go to hire people,
Mm-hmm.
we first look not at their skill set, but at their attitude.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely I feel you on that one because of the quality of people and even the small businesses I've had, it's been difficult finding, like you said, people are there to do a quality job, and then the sense of entitlement is just seems like it's at an all-time high now. I don't know where, what I'm saying, they're going to go, or the future, business leaders and leaders in general of this nation and stuff. I did have a question. Do you feel that current politics influences future business?
Um, no, not in a major way, not in the tax business. I think that it might have, when it affects the economy
Mm-hmm.
and one party
Mm-hmm.
hurts the economy, then it affects my business, but not otherwise.
Okay. At this point in your life, are you satisfied with everything that you've accomplished so far?
Oh, I'm never satisfied. I'm always driven.
I love it.
The name of my book is I Compete, and
Uh-huh.
I live to compete every hour on the hour. So if I meet you, I might bet a dime. We're arguing about something that who
Mm-hmm.
said, give me liberty or give me death, right? And I'll
Mm-hmm.
bet you $1 that I'm right, or
Mm.
$1 on the football game, or
Yeah.
on we'll be playing a card game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always trying to improve, get better, change
Mm-hmm.
people's lives.
When you're not focused on your businesses, what do you like to do, like, in spare time?
I play in. I'm a chess player and a
Okay.
bridge player
Mm-hmm.
and uh, horse race follower. I guess those are
Okay.
my three things that I like.
When it's all said and done, what do you think would have accomplished by then?
I've changed it. As I said, I brought in over 5,200 franchisees who
Mm-hmm.
had hundreds of thousands of employees. Thousands of them became millionaires. I've
Mm-hmm.
changed tens and tens of thousands of people's lives. I've made this world a better place.
Do you think it's possible for others to follow, like, in your footstep and to have the impact that you've had thus far? Or do you
I
think
can
it's
give
like
you
too
names
big?
of hundred. Well, the full impact that I've had, or just a piece of pay it forward.
Well, just like you said, you've had 5,000 something
Right.
franchisees, you've made millionaires and hundredaires and things of that nature. The total impact that you've had just over your career, it can seem like, daunting to others. So do you think there are other people capable of following in the same, trajectory of whether, text business, things of that nature? Can people duplicate what you've done?
I think that there are people that have done that. I'm in a rarefied air of the most successful ever, 1,000th of 1%. But
Mm,
I listened to Elon Musk say the other day, and he's an argument for this,
mhm,
that he has had more impact on the human race, positive impact, than any other human being ever.
mm,
And when you think of it, all these electric cars or
mhm,
and his rockets into outer space might
mhm.
save the human race when the sun burns up one day.
Yeah.
Maybe yes, but no, I'm not certainly the best.
Mhm,
But I'm in a rare. I've been blessed, and I don't attribute to myself. I attribute to just taking the blessings that I've been given,
mhm.
and and uh, doing a good job at using them to change lives.
But John, I know you're busy with your time. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the jewels. Thank you for the opportunity for the interview. And I'll leave you with the last, closing remark.
Well, first of all, it's been a great pleasure. I love helping people and changing lives. But don't forget, if you can get a lot of tips on business if you'll, and I talk about my mistakes as well as the things I've done well in my book. So if you send me, you can get the book online, but you can get one for free just by emailing me at john@loyaltybrands.com. And it'll be a help to most business people in improving their skills.
I'm definitely going to take you up on that. I'm going to send you my address here in a moment. But thank you, John. I appreciate it. And everybody out there can go look up John's amazing career. You can learn from it. You can go get the book, I Compete. And as always, y'all can go and follow all social media, Make That Radio Show at gmail.com.